Hey YouTube, Common Collector here, and today I'm bringing you guys my Ishizu tier deck profile. Now, I was originally going to be doing this today before the ban list dropped, but with the new emergency ban list, I wanted to make sure that I got the newest updated deck profile out to you guys, so you guys can kind of get a baseline of how to run the deck, and there will be definitely some changes to make here. I think that as the format develops, as we see how much Dimensional Fissure, Macrocosmos, and like Tri-Brigade and stuff kind of come into the mix with having the barrier statue and all that stuff, we'll sort of see how the meta develops. But for now, this is going to be my deck profile, and I think a lot of the big changes would come into the side deck, when you get to going against Dimensional Fissure, Macrocosmos, all that stuff. You can always add in more stuff in the side. But we're going to be running with 2 copies of Tearlament Rhino Heart. Obviously, you can run this at 2 or 3, but I just like having it at 2 because you can generally find a good way to search it. It does help to get your combos off, so it's either a combo starter or extender, but I want to have my hands full with a lot of the Ishizu stuff as well, just so I can have sort of some hand traps and disruption during my opponent's turn. Unfortunately, getting Orange Light hit to 1 was a bit of a downside, but still 2 Rhino Heart is the way to go for me, I think. Then we're going to be going on with 3 copies of the Sheeran. Sheeran's just also really nice as one of your 3 ways to fuse with the deck. Then 3 copies of Havness, very, very standard, also kind of a nice, another little hand trap card. And then we have our 3 copies of Merly. Merly is probably one of the best ones just because this card can also help to mill. So now that we're not running the 3 copies of the Orange Light, a lot of people were playing this at 2. A few people were playing it at 2. Now I think you definitely need to play it at 3 just so you have enough of those level 2s if you want to go into your Sprite Elf. Then we're just going to do all of this by engine, so we're going to be keeping on with the tier stuff. So we have our 3 copies of the Parallel Rhino. This card just works super duper good for spot removal. You can just pop cards on your opponent's side of the field, which is really nice. Going to be really helpful to get rid of stuff like Macrocosmos. But if the Cosmos is already up, then you might not have stuff in the graveyard, so you have to be pretty alert about that kind of stuff. Then we're going on into 2 copies of Scream. I am tempted to play 3 copies because a lot of people are sort of starting to run 3, but for now I just like the 2 just so I have, I'm definitely going to be able to find a way to mill it hopefully during my turn. You have generally pretty good odds to do that, and to get 1 face up on your field is always really nice as well. Then 1 copy of Heartbeat. This card is crucial now to be able to get rid of stuff like Di-Fi. A lot of people were playing this in the main deck to get rid of Mystic Mine, but now this card needs to be in there to get rid of Macrocosmos and Di-Fi. So, even considering to play 2, I was definitely considering that, but I think just the 1 is fine. And like I said, you can always sort of go into the side deck if you need more stuff like Cosmic Cyclone and whatnot to clear your opponent's back row. Lightning Storm's always also an option. Then 1 copy of each Soliac and Crime. We can easily get these cards back from our graveyard and stuff, so you just need the 1 of each copies. Then let's move on into the Ishizu stuff. So we have our 3 copies of Keldo. 3 copies of Keldo is just super duper mandatory. This card is just super duper nice for being able to shuffle stuff back into the deck. Just super duper crucial. And then we're going on into 3 copies of Mudora. Also being able to shuffle back cards is super duper nice. Also, this card is able to place a Gravekeeper's Trap from your deck face up to the field. And spoiler alert, we are playing the Gravekeeper's Trap engine. So if you guys don't like that route, you can always add in the Bestial stuff, but I just didn't really care for the Bestials for this next format, just because we are going to be seeing, I think, a lot of the Bird Up deck, because that was kind of like a fan favorite archetype that people were really loving, and then it got hit really quick. So people are going to be urgent to play that, and so going up against a lot of like wind attribute decks and stuff, along with Tri-Brigades who play a lot of Earths and Winds and stuff, it's just not going to feel very good having the Bestials in your hand. So overall, I really thought that running the Gravekeeper's Trap line was kind of fun and a little bit different, and can potentially lead to some really quick victories. So we have here then the Kelbeck to be able to mill 5 from the deck, and then our 1 copy of Agido. He's fine just at 1 copy. And then we have our Gravekeeper's Trap and the Exchange of the Spirit. Overall, in testing and stuff and playing this at locals, overall has gone pretty good. It's really nice when you activate like Agido's effect and then you mill Exchange of the Spirit, and then his then effect goes off, which is then if Exchange of the Spirit's in the graveyard, you can mill another 5. And that does go off if this still gets milled during that interaction, so that's really nice. Gravekeeper's Trap is actually super duper nice to be able to get any of your other earth fairies to your hand. So with this card, once per turn, you're able to discard a card. Then you add 1 Gravekeepers or 1 Earth Fairy monster from your deck to your hand. So that's super duper nice. Also, it kind of works like Necro Valley, where it turns off effects that activate in the graveyard. So that's also really nice. So that could come up against like a Tri-Brigade deck and whatnot when they're trying to do interactions with their graveyard. So, and then also special summoning from graveyard is negated as well. So if your opponent needs to extend with a Monster Reborn or whatever, and also just being able to use like Drytrons and stuff, this card just totally shuts off those kind of decks. So as long as you can get Gravekeeper's Trap going before your opponent can get their stuff going, it's really nice. And you can always side it out to be able to put in your stuff like Cosmic Cyclones and whatnot. If you're not going up against the mirror match. In the mirror match, this is where I found is really, really nice, because if you can get this going, then that means that all of your cards which shuffle stuff back can actually shuffle back in like 5 now instead of 3, so that's always just super duper nice. Gets you a lot more advantage than your opponent going. So overall, I just really like having this little engine in here. Doesn't take up too much space, and as long as you can get Mudora off, then you can get Gravekeeper's Trap placed up on your field, and then all you need to do is mill Exchange of the Spirit, which overall is not too hard to do. And even if you don't exchange, even if you don't mill Exchange of the Spirit, Gravekeeper's Trap is always still just really good because it can get you into more of your fairy cards, which is just super duper nice. If you have your 1 copy of Herald of the Orange Light just lingering in your hand, then you can just always add like a Kelbeck, Keldo, a Guido, whatever you need, and then you have that discard fodder right there. And then you can get another name into your graveyard, and then having the discard also gets you other stuff in the graveyard as well. So that's just really good. Then we have our 1 copy of the Diviner. For the rest of the generic stuff, 3 copies of Super Poly. This card is just going to be kind of nice to be able to break Tri-Brigade boards and stuff, and we will get to that once we get to the extra deck. But yeah, this card is in here for that. It's in here for the mirror match, whatever. There's just a bunch of different applications. Super Poly is just such a versatile card. Then 1 copy of Terraforming, obviously to get to our field spell, 1 Instant Fusion, 1 Called by the Grave, and then 1 copy of Triple Tactics Talent. You need to be playing at least 1 or 2 copies of this because you're going to be sending off so many graveyard effects with your Agido and your Kelbeck. So if your opponent has any kind of graveyard effect that is going to be getting triggered off, then Triple Tactics Talents will basically always be live. So that's always really, really nice. So definitely want to be playing at least 1 copy, maybe even 2. But for now, that's going to do it for the 40-card main deck. Again, if you're not comfortable with that Gravekeeper's Trap lineup, you guys can always switch that out for whatever you want. But overall, I think it's actually really nice and can give your deck a lot more gas. And especially in the mirror match, if you have more gas than your opponent, it just helps feel really good. But getting to the extra deck, we're playing the 1 copy of Kit, the 1 copy of Kaleido Heart, and the 1 copy of Rukalos. Pretty standard. You don't really need to play any more than anything. If you need to play that extra copy of Kit Kalos, you probably just need to practice with the deck more. And then you can always use, you always have the Tearlament's Crime to be able to add back any banished tier monsters. So if your opponent ends up banishing it, you always just have Crime there. I did have an interaction this last week at Locals where they banished the Kit with Reaper. They hit Reaper with it, and then I was just like, I literally on my next mill I milled Crime, and then Crime sent it right back, and it just like totally nullified the interaction. Getting into our Super Poly targets and our Instant Fusion target, we have 1 Mud Dragon, then we have our 1 Garura, our 1 copy of Dracostapelia, and then the spicy tech for now going against Tri-Brigades and stuff, we have our 1 copy of the World Legacy Guard Dragon Almerduke. So this card is just super nice because its link materials are 3 link monsters on the field, so if you can Super Poly it, you can Super Poly away, like they usually end on, like they'll usually have Access Code Talker, or you can, if they have whatever the Ancient Warriors guy, and then Appaloosa, and then one of their link monsters, boom, right there, you can Super Poly away their field, and they lose 3 resources, so that's like a 2 for 3 interaction right there, or maybe a 1 for 3, because you're going to end up with this guy on the field. So it's a really, really solid interaction, really, really devastating your opponent. Then moving on into the rest of the XZs and stuff, we have our Time Thief Redoer, then we have an Abyss Dweller, and our Baguska. These cards are just super duper nice, very versatile effects. You have Abyss Dweller when you're setting up, Baguska if you get hand trapped too much and you don't have any setup really, and then Time Thief Redoer either just to punch in or just to be able to draw extra cards. And then we have our 1 copy of Zeus. Zeus, usually you go over Time Thief Redoer, which is really nice because then you can get extra materials, which is super cool. Then we have our 1 copy of Dark, still just is kind of crucial for the format, just to be able to revive a Dark from Grave. Then we have our copy of Sprite Elf. I did drop the Sprint because we're not going to be going into level 2s as much as before, so as long as you just like can link into Sprite Elf, and then you can revive your Merly on your opponent's turn, it just still feels pretty good. So you just don't really need the Sprint, in my opinion, anymore. One copy of Underworld Goddess, just to be able to link if our opponent puts out an unbeatable boss monster, and then one copy of Baron de Fleur that we can easily synchro into. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This one was really cool to just try to quick put together for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Again, we'll see how the format sort of develops and stuff to see where this deck needs to line up. But hopefully, if you guys enjoyed this deck profile, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you guys are new here, like the video, and make sure that you guys hit that notification bell so you guys can check out when I give all of the updates on deck profiles, ban lists, my Pokemon series for Nuzlocke Challenge, and all that stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next profile. Peace.